This video will look at a new way of using an if-else statement. But before we do this, a bit of practice. Can you create this program? So it's a program that displays a menu. So just a series of console.write lines. 1 play game, 2 view high scores, 3 reset high scores, 4 exit. Now you're not going to actually do any of this, I'm afraid, at this time, unless you feel like it. At the moment, very simple. It displays the menu and then asks the user for the user's choice, which you get from the user, and you store it in a variable. You then find out what that was. So if the user chose 1, you're going to display play the game. If the user chose 2, you display high scores. 3, high scores reset, and if they chose 4, then you display goodbye. So it's the first bit is a series of write lines just displaying the menu. The second part, after you've got the user input, the second part is then an if-else structure. So can you have a go at that? As usual, pause, have a go at it, and then I'm going to talk through a different way of doing it. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that and show you my version of this program, which is down here, one I made earlier. Just zoom so we can see it. What I've done, hopefully, is similar to what you've done. I've created a variable to store the user's choice. I've called it user choice, and I've decided that it's going to be an integer because they're entering 1, 2, 3, 4. I've then displayed. Now I haven't used any colours. You might have used colours because you know how to do that now, and it might look beautiful. Mine doesn't. Mine's very plain. So I've just done a series of write lines to display this. I've put a welcome, the menu, and then the menu, and asked for the choice. I've done the user choice, and once again I've forgotten to convert it to an integer, so I'm going to go and do that now because that's good practice. So I'm converting the input to an integer because it's going to be a 1, 2, 3 or 4, so, and that's being stored in user choice. And then, very similar to what we've done before, hopefully you remember this, you look back on the menu, on the videos, and you've been able to remember how to do this. I've done an if-else. I've said if the user choice is 1, I've cleared the screen and say play the game. Else, if it's 2, clear the screen, high scores. Else it's a 3, clear the screen, high scores reset. Else, so if it wasn't 1, 2 or 3, it's not quite what I said. You might have done another if here, that would be fine. But basically I'm saying if you don't type in 1, 2 or 3, it's going to take you out of the program. Slightly different really to what I said, but there you go. So if you type in anything other than 1, 2 or 3, it says goodbye. Hopefully you managed to get that. Hopefully, if you didn't manage to get it, you can look at it and understand it. What I'm going to show you now is a simpler way of writing this. So I'm just going to create a bit of space, and I'm going to do a select statement. Now a select statement is exactly the same as an if-else if structure. It's just a little bit simpler. So I'm going to select case, user choice. What this does is splits up this. I'm going to do case equals 1. So if it's equal to 1, case is equal to 1, I do this. Maybe I shouldn't. I'll cut it. If it's 2, I do this. I don't. I do this. If case is equal to 3, I do that. Else, I do that. Now hopefully I can get these on the screen at the same time. So these two things are doing exactly the same, and I mean exactly the same. The select case is exactly the same as this if-else if. The idea behind the select case is that it's easier to read. So here we have the whole in this if-else if user choice is 1, then do this, else if user choice equals 2, then do this, else if user choice equals 3, then do this, else do this, end if. The select case is a nicer structure. What it says is we're going to look at, select case, we're going to look at this variable here. We're going to look at the contents of this variable, user choice, so what the user entered it. And we can say, well, if that In the case that that is 1, do this. In the case that this, the contents of user choice is 2, do this here. In the case that this is 3, do this, and if it's anything else, do that. So I'm going to get rid of that now. If I run this, it should still work. 1, play the game. To wait for my computer. There we go. If we say 2, it should say high scores, and if I say 3, it should say high scores reset, and if I say 4 or any other number, it will say goodbye. So there's an example of this select case. Have a look at it, and in the next video I'll set a challenge, see if you can do it.